Yo, 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 welcome back. Another episode. Damn You Too Sportstalk Show. It's your boy Ralph Sneaks coming to you live with another one. This is what episode 23 we on now. Um, as always, man, make sure you head over to YouTube, subscribe to the content, hit the notification bell so you can get notified when new content releases. Head over to IG. You can follow the sports page at damn_you2_sports talk. You can click the link and subscribe that way. If you want to follow my personal page, Ralph Sneaks, Ralph_Sneaks on IG. You can do that as well. Twitter or X, it's Damn You Too Sports Talk over there. I follow back. But we gonna get to it, man. We gonna get straight to it. Um, I know everybody's talking about what happened in Philly last night, but before we get to that, Carolina did finally bench Bryce. So let's go ahead and knock that out the way. But we gonna get to the debacle, the meltdown that happened in Philly. Yeah, we're gonna get to it. Just get this Bryce Young news out the way. Uh Dave Canal, and I'm not sure whose decision this was. Was it David Tepper or was it Dave Canals, the head coach? Bryce Young is benched. He's out. Andy Dalton is in. Um, like I told y'all on the previous episode, they had to bench Bryce. Bryce wasn't ready. Um, I don't think he was ever ready. First and foremost, I don't think that was a good move to trade up to draft him any damn way. So let me go on the record and say that first and foremost that I didn't like the trade. I don't think they should even trade up to get him with the first overall pick. Second of all, that's not how you rebuild. Um, Bryce Young, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready mentally. He wasn't ready physically. Um, Dating all the way back to last season, even did the first two games this season, the Carolina Panthers got outscored 73-13 to start the season. These first two games, they lost 47-10 against the Saints, and then they came back this past Sunday and lost 26-3 to the Chargers, LA Chargers. Um, Bryce Young has been sacked 6 times in 2 games, and he's thrown 3 picks in 2 games. Week 1, he threw for 161 yards, 13 for 30, 161 yards. Week 2, 18 of 26, 84 yards. So week 1, he threw less than 50%. He was less than 50% passing with 161 yards. And then this past Sunday, he was over 50% passing, but he only had 84 yards. And he played the whole game. Um, Bryce Young has lost the locker room. And I think Dave Canals is sensing this. He has sensed because we're only 2 games into the season. And he already know that what he has to do now as a head coach is he has to win some games. Even though he just got there, this is second game as the head coach that he just got there. I'm not saying his job is in jeopardy, but he knows to have a good, solid coaching foundation and to make the best out of the situation in Charlotte with the Panthers. He know right now he got to win games. Damn who the quarterback is. He has to get somebody in there at the quarterback position that gives them the best shot to win games. And Bryce last year, they won 2 games with Bryce. This year, they haven't won a game yet. They start the season 0-2, and like I said, they done got outscored so far 73-13 to start this season by the Saints and the Chargers. So right now, what you got to do is you're losing the team and you're losing the locker room because you're sticking with this guy. So what he's doing now, he's shaking it up, hoping that he could put in a veteran in Andy Dalton that could come in, make the offense look better, give these guys something to feel good about. Um, Moving forward, because you seen the frustration on Deontay Johnson's face. Not only did you see the frustration on Deontay Johnson's face in Carolina, we've seen this frustration from Deontay Johnson when he was in Pittsburgh. We also seen frustration this past Sunday on Adam Thielen's face. We see the body language. These guys don't enjoy and don't look like they enjoy playing for Bryce Young. Bryce Young doesn't look like a leader. He doesn't look like a guy that picks up other guys. Bryce Young looked shook. He don't look ready. He got to jump to throw the ball. His footwork is sloppy. His mechanics ain't there. He's shook. His confidence is gone. So I think what Dave Canales and Carolina's trying to do now is they trying to get bench this guy early in the season because they don't want to have another 2-15 type of season. They want to try to win some games. They don't want to continue to be the joke and the laughing stock. So they want to put a guy out there that give them the best opportunity to win. Bryce Young has now I understand Bryce hasn't had the best situation for him over there, especially last year. But the money that they spent on his offensive line this offseason, they drafted Xavier Legette. They brought in Deontay Johnson via trade. They had Adam Thielen coming back. You're going to get Jonathan Brooks at some point during the season, around week 5 or so. Now, I get giving up 47 points. That's not Bryce Young's issue. It was Bryce Young's fault. But he helped contribute to keeping the defense on the field longer than they should be. Matter of fact, his first pass attempt of this season in New Orleans was an interception. There are times where guys are open and Bryce Young just doesn't have the confidence to let the ball go. And when he lets the ball go too early, and the ball often floats over the receiver's head, which results in a TD, or he don't get enough on it and underthrows it, which results in interceptions. Balls are not accurately thrown. His footwork is sloppy. His mechanics ain't there. His confidence is shot. The body language of the team ain't good. He ain't a good. So far, what I'm seeing is he done lost the locker room. And Dave Canal said, "This is it. We got to pull the plug on this guy." Once you lose the locker room and guys start going out there doing what the hell they want, and the body language is ugly, you got to pull the quarterback. You got to put a guy in there that guys are gonna feel comfortable playing for. You got to put a guy in there that's gonna give you the best chance to win games. Bryson showed you so far that he's not the guy that's gonna give you the best chance to win games. So you got to put a veteran quarterback in there. What they doing right now is what I said they should have been doing the whole time during this rebuild. They should have been using their draft picks to either trade back and gain more picks to plug more holes because you ain't going nowhere no time soon. So what they should have been doing is this all along. They should have been just playing a veteran quarterback, which I consider them a bridge quarterback that gets you through year to year until you get yourself or get your team solidified enough with weapons and playmakers on both sides of the ball to where all you need to do, now you feel you're comfortable going in and getting a quarterback. And even when you go in and get a quarterback, you don't reach for one. You make sure you got the coaching staff in place because it makes no sense to get a quarterback. And I say this all the time, and people think I'm crazy for saying this, but what's the difference in drafting a quarterback top 5 or drafting a quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round when you ain't got the coaching staff there for the quarterback? I don't give a see. People say all this shit about the quarterback this, the quarterback that. But if you have a staff in place that's a quarterback guru and you have a staff in place for that quarterback, what's the difference in drafting a quarterback 5th in the top 5 versus drafting a quarterback in the 3rd round? If you draft a quarterback in the 3rd round and give him the same development that you would give that top 5 QB that you drafted with that same coaching staff, then that 3rd round quarterback will probably give you almost the same type of production as that top 5 quarterback, unless that top 5 quarterback is just it's just a phenom. Because you look at what these teams are doing, they drafting these quarterbacks high and they throwing them out there, and they ain't looking like what they thought they should look like. So far, we don't know what Caleb Williams is going to look like, but Caleb Williams that's how the Bears ended up with Caleb Williams off of what the Carolina Panthers gave them to draft to trade up from 9-1 to get Bryce Young, and they also took away one of his weapons in DJ Moore, which he should have, but that was included in the trade package to move from 9-1, along with picks. And I think they still owe him a 2025 second round pick coming up in this draft. So you gave up a boatload to get a guy who so far in his second season, he's 18 games in now? Because I think he missed the last game of the season last year. So he played 16 games last year and then to start the first 2 this year. So he's 2-18 to start his career. And so far this season, he's thrown 3 picks and been sacked 6 times. Now, I'm not saying the offensive line is the worst, and I'm not saying it's the best, but they spent a lot of money on that offensive line this year. And some of those sacks I seen Bryce Young take, they come because he didn't throw the ball away. Got outside the pocket, held the ball, got sacked. He had a sack like that on Sunday. Got outside the pocket, instead of just throwing the ball away, he takes a sack. Then when the guys are open, because this is the NFL, that when the window is open, it's not going to be open for long. You got to get that ball in that window while it's open. Or you got to get that ball in that window while it's opening, because it's not going to be open long. As quick as it open, that's how quick it's shut in the NFL. You don't have wide open windows in the NFL like you do at the college level. So you got to make sure your timing and your chemistry with your wide receivers are there, because once that window is open, that ball has to be released while that window is opening, because that's how quick that window shut in the NFL. So when he drops back to release and he don't release, that was when he should have released. That second that he don't release the ball, that's how quick that window closed. And a lot of his interceptions are as a result. That's how he's getting a lot of his interceptions. He's throwing the ball late, not going through his progression. He's shook. The team out there, he's lost the locker room. The team out there don't want to play. They just out there because they're getting paid to, and that's what the NFL schedule say they got to do. So that's what they out there for. They don't enjoy that shit. I mean, that's what they tell you in the media, but I mean, they saying what they supposed to say, not to talk bad and down their teammate, but they don't really enjoy that shit. Nobody enjoys losing. Nobody enjoys being the laughing stock. Now I get it. There has to be a team that is the worst team in the NFL, but you don't want to be that team. You don't want to be on that worst team. You don't want to be on the team. So I think a young head coach and Dave Canales has sensed the fact that Bryce Young has lost the locker room, and right now you got to put a guy out there that give you the best chance to win the game. That's what you have to do, and he know that, and so that's what he's doing. So now you look at the upcoming schedule for Carolina. This Sunday they go at the I don't know why I keep calling the Oakland Raiders. They're at the Las Vegas Raiders this Sunday, and we just seen the Raiders come off a road victory over the Baltimore Ravens. So let's look at their next 4 games. They're at the Las Vegas Raiders. Then they come back home against the Cincinnati Bengals. They're at the Chicago Bears, and they come back home against the Atlanta Falcons. Do you see them winning any of those 4 games? I don't know. But you got to put somebody out there to give you the best chance to win a game. And winning a game right now could do a lot for this team, because they haven't had a win, and I don't know when. They only won 2 games last year. They won 2 games last year. They beat the Houston Texans last year, and they won a game against the Atlanta Falcons last year. And both of those were home games. They did not win a game on the road last year. Both games that they won last year were at home against Houston and Atlanta. Those were their 2 wins. So they didn't win a home. They didn't win an away game at all last season, and so far they ain't won one this year because they lost the first game at New Orleans. So I think getting a guy back there to give them the best chance to win, I think getting a win will start to boost the confidence for some of these guys. Now, I'm not saying Carolina about to go on some win streak and start willing off victories and make a run at the division. No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is the first thing to get the confidence back in these guys is to get a win. And to get a win, you got to put a guy out there that gives you the best chance to get a win. And they going with a vet. And like I said, the next 4 games I just read out with at Vegas, home against Cincinnati, at Chicago, home against Atlanta. So which one of those 4 games do they got the best chance to win? That's what Dave Canales looking at. The first step to get this locker room back and get this team on track is to get a win. So, I'm not sure. I don't know what the hell is the obsession with Bama QBs. They don't do a damn thing once they get in the league. I can't name a quarterback that came from Bama in recent history that's done any damn thing in the league. And don't give me Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts he entered the NFL draft from Oklahoma. Tua, he's in the NFL. But do you think Tua deserved the contract that he got based off of his performance leading up to that contract? He's got concussion issues. He came into the NFL injured. Remember how he dislocated his hip at Bama? I think he also broke his nose or something like that. So he came into the NFL injured. Now, granted that he got a good system down there with Mike McDaniel, but he got concussion issues. I don't know how long he's gonna be in the league. And even if you do mention Tua as one of the, what do you rank him? Has he ever been a top 10 quarterback since he's been in the NFL? I don't think. Mac Jones, nothing. Blake Sims, did he do anything? John Parker Wilson, did he do anything? AJ McCarron, did he do anything? Greg McElroy, did he do anything? Just keep going. I don't know what the obsession is with Bama QBs. They do absolutely nothing in the NFL. Absolutely nothing. So I don't know what was the big hype about trading up to get Bryce Young. Now you set your franchise back. Now you got to get a guy in here to clean up the mess you made. And I think Dave Canales understands the first thing he got to do is he got to get somebody in there to get his team the best chance to win a game. Because that's the start of turning this thing around to some degree. Is you got to win a game. You got to give guys something to fit. You got to give these guys something to feel good about. And winning a game right now in Carolina will go a long way for the confidence of these players. Because if you win one game, let's see if we can string along another win and another win and another win and get the people in the city of Charlotte something to chill about again. Because right now, ain't nobody showing up to the damn games. Ain't nobody buying merch. Ain't nobody buying tickets. The only people that's buying tickets or if you got a popular fan base that you playing. Now, if you had the Raiders at home, you would sell tickets because the Raiders have a huge fan base. If you got the Cowboys at home, which I believe they do this year, you're going to sell tickets to that game because the Cowboys got a popular fan base. But the thing about it is you're not going to sell a lot of your tickets. You're going to sell 70% of the tickets. That's 75% of the tickets that's going to be sold are going to be Cowboy fans in attendance at that game. You ain't giving the people in Charlotte nothing to cheer about when it comes to football season. Nobody's tuning in to watch the game. Nobody's buying tickets, so nobody's putting their asses in the seats. Nobody's buying merch. So it's bad for business right now. So what you got to do if you Dave Canales, you got to get the best guy in there to give you a shot at winning a game so you can start to get the confidence back in the locker room and get these guys back on the same page, get the chemistry in the locker room back. So if you win a game, let's see if we can string together and get 2 games. Now you're starting to get some confidence. Now you got guys starting to play better on both sides of the ball. You got to get somebody out there that's going to make some plays. You got to get somebody out there that's going to get the offense driving down the field. You got to get somebody out there that's going to feel confident and be excited about being out there. And Bryce wasn't doing that. You can tell the body language on the players. They were. I mean, you can look on the sideline and tell the body language. The defense already putting their helmet back on because they know it's about to be another 3 and out. They come over, get a little squirt of water, Gatorade or whatever, and a lot of them don't even take the damn helmet off. Because by the time they take the helmet off and sit down, they got to strap it up, put it back on again, and get ready to go out there on the damn defense. Now, that's when you tire out your defense. And your defense, you asking them to bend but don't break. But there's only so much bending you can do if the offense putting you in a bad situation with a bunch of 3 and outs and a bunch of turnovers. So eventually you're going to break. And I think that's what's going on. You open the season up 47-10, giving them 47 points. I seen the body language in week 1 at the Saints. First down pass attempt, Bryce Young threw a pick. The body language said, oh, shit, here we go again. I seen it on some of the players' faces. They was looking like, here we go again. We're going to start this season with the same shit that we ended last season with. And a lot of it got to do is, why are you treating this dude like the golden child? He should have had his ass out there in preseason. You only won 2 games last year. Why the fuck wasn't he out there in preseason? You won 2 games last year. You got a new head coach, which means you got a new offensive coordinator and a new scheme. Why the hell ain't your ass out there getting chemistry and getting familiar with this new scheme and this new head coach during preseason? That's what preseason is for. I get it and understand that you don't want to get guys hurt, this, that, and the third. But even if Bryce do get hurt, and I don't want nobody else to get hurt, like how big of a blow would that be to the team? You only won 2 fucking games with him last year. So how big of a blow is that to the team? And you already benching him 2 games into this season. So get his ass out there, let him run preseason. Stop making these dudes feel like they already made it. Yeah, you in the NFL, but it's still a lot of work you got to do. You only in your second year, and you got a new head coach from when you was in your first year. Yeah, I understand you at camp this, that, and the third, and they got joint practices this, that, and third, but that's not a game. You want to make your mistakes during practice and during preseason. You don't want to roll that shit over into the regular season where it counts. See, this ain't preseason no more. This is regular season. The 2 games you lost to open the season up with, that counts on your record. You're 0-2. That counts. Now, you can lose all 3 preseason games. That doesn't count against your record. These 2 games that you open the season up with losing counts against your record. The mistakes you making in these 2 games that count should have been the mistakes you were making in practice and in preseason, but you couldn't make them because your ass wasn't out there. And then when they out there, they play 1 drive, 2 drives, and look like shit in them 2 drives, as if they didn't just practice. So yeah, I think it's a good move by Carolina. They need to bench Bryce. His confidence is gone. I think they just need to go ahead and chalk it up as an L, and basically just go ahead and move off. Do what you got to do to chalk this up as an L. I think the Bryce Young experiment is over. It wasn't a good experiment to try anyway. You didn't have nothing set up for this guy when you traded up to get him. I think that was a bad way to start a rebuild, and it set your franchise back because now you got to go back and redo or try to clean up the mess you made while still moving forward. See, once you can't move forward when you're going backwards. You can only go one way. Either you're gonna go forward, or you can only do 3 things. You either can move forward, go back, or stay in the same spot. And right now, you can't move forward because you got to go back and clean up a mess that should have never been made. That wasn't an accidental mess. That was a mess you made on purpose. So now you're setting yourself back from moving forward because now you got to go back to clean up a mess that you should have never made. Nobody made you make the mess. You made the mess purposely on your own. So you can't move forward. You got to go back and clean that shit up. And the sad part about it is you can't move forward until you go back and clean it up. The quicker you go back and clean that shit up, the quicker you can start moving back forward. But the more you stay in the same place and don't do nothing about it, you ain't making no progress. So sometimes going back, cleaning up some old shit may be the best thing because that's how you're gonna start making progress, cleaning up the shit that you fucked up. But when you stay still and don't make a move to do nothing, you ain't going nowhere. So going back to clean up may be the best thing for you to move forward. That's better than staying in the same spot, not doing nothing and not going nowhere. And I think Dave Canals understand that now. That he gonna have to go back and clean some shit up. And it starts with benching Bryce and getting a veteran quarterback in there. That can distribute the ball to the playmakers. And Andy Dalton is he's not a terrible quarterback. I don't think he's a quarterback that's gonna take Carolina anywhere. But at least you got a veteran quarterback that was winning some games when he was in Cincinnati. You do got a veteran quarterback that has made the playoffs. They didn't win a lot of games with Marvin Lewis over there in the playoffs as the head coach, but you got a quarterback that at least won regular season games to the point where they were making the playoffs. So you got one of those guys. It's not like you got a quarterback that's the same caliber guy as a Bryce Young. You got a veteran that did win some games in Cincinnati. You got a veteran that did play well in other places after Cincinnati. I think every team that he's played for since leaving Cincinnati, I think the Carolina Panthers got those guys on their schedule to play this year. So, I mean, you got a little something to work with. You got something to make guys feel good about moving forward with the season. To not make this season seem exactly like last season, I don't think they're going nowhere. But at least get the confidence of the guys to play hard and fight with a veteran QB on the center that can move the offense down the field, and result in some points. You don't want to just be out there on offense and the only points you can score in 2 games is 13, and you've been outscored 73-13 in the first 2 games of the open up this season. So I think if you Dave Canals, you got to make this aggressive play call because you ain't doing shit with Bryce anyway. It don't take 6, 7, 8 games to figure this shit out that you see in 2 weeks. And I think he see in 2 weeks with the same thing gonna be down the line in 6, 7, 8 weeks. So why not go ahead and get a jump start on this shit now in the first 2 games so you can have a better morale around the team and feel more confident in the locker room amongst the team and amongst the fan base. Because right now you ain't got shit going working in your favor. Nothing but having a highest draft pick. And if you don't know what to do with the draft pick, that draft pick ain't gonna mean a damn thing because if you don't know what to do with it. So I think it's a good move by Carolina. We'll see, you know, what they look like in these next upcoming 4 games. So um, we'll see we'll see where it go from there. What comes out of that. But it's a good move. But moving on, Monday night, last night we had Monday Night Football. We had a philaDAMNdelphia meltdown in the city of brotherly love. I don't think they were showing no love after the game in the city, but the Philadelphia Eagles had a chance to put this game away with about a minute 42, minute 43 seconds left in the game. 3rd and 3. Saquon drops a pass, which would have resulted in a first down, but he dropped the pass, and the Eagles had to settle for a field goal that made the game 18-15. I'm sorry, the game was 18-15. The field goal made it 21-15. Um, the pass was the placement of the pass was exactly where it should have been. It was out in front of Saquon. All Saquon had to do was catch it, secure it, and turn his head around, and he would have got 3 yards or 2 yards rather, 2 3 yards rather. It was 3rd and 3. Like I said, the pass was out in front of him in the flat like it should have been. So he didn't have to break stride. He didn't have to turn his body back around and lose momentum moving forward. The ball placement was where it should have been, out in front of Saquon. Saquon just lay his hand out, catch the ball, secure it, turn his head, and go up the field for 2 3 yards. And he would have got the first. He would have had the first down, and that would have sealed the game for the Philadelphia Eagles, and they would have been going to 2-0, and they would have dropped the Falcons to 0-2. But instead, he dropped that pass, and the Eagles had to settle for a field goal to go up 21-15 with a minute 39 left. That's how much time was on the clock when Atlanta took over, with a minute 39 seconds left. Atlanta starts to drive at their own 30-yard line. Four pass plays. The Atlanta Falcons execute 4 pass plays from their own 30-yard line, starting at their own 30-yard line with a minute 39 seconds left. They execute 4 pass plays, and they are already on the Eagles' 8-yard line. Four pass plays. 4 consecutive pass plays. They go from their own 30 all the way to Philly's 8. The very next play is an incomplete pass in the end zone to Ray McCloud. Stops the clock. The very next play after that is a touchdown pass to Drake London with 34 seconds remaining. Drake London gets an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for the celebration after he scored the touchdown. That pushes the extra point back. Atlanta makes the extra point anyway, despite it being pushed back by the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on Drake London after the touchdown reception. That takes the lead to 22-21 Falcons, right? On the ensuing drive, Jalen Hurts gets picked by Jesse Bates. Game over. Now, leading up to this whole situation down the stretch of the game, I'm gonna say this: I didn't see a lot of pass rush from the Eagles, like I should have, or like I thought I was gonna see. The Eagles secondary is struggling. I didn't see a lot of pass rush. Now, Kirk Cousins, who we all know don't perform his best on prime time. But last night, that last drive was the best drive the Falcons had so far this season. It was the best looking drive they had so far this season. Now, Philly couldn't stop the run, they couldn't stop Bijan, and they couldn't generate a pass rush. And down the stretch of that game, the secondary got torched. Kirk Cousins ended the game 20 of 29, 241 yards, 2 TDs, and he got sacked once. Bijan Robinson had 14 rushing attempts, 97 yards. And he added another 4 receptions for 25 yards. So, if I'm Philadelphia, I'm trying to figure out ways to generate pressure up front and ways to get better on the back end. Because you didn't do neither one of those last night, especially down the stretch of that game. You didn't generate enough pressure. And the back end of your secondary didn't play well, particularly during that situation down the stretch that cost you the game. Now, we wouldn't even be talking about none of this had Saquon just caught the pass, which was a excellent thrown ball by Jalen Hurts. It was out in front. The placement of the ball was exactly where it should have been, where it's supposed to be. He just dropped it. He just flat out dropped it. Go back and look at the replay. He just flat out dropped it. But instead, you go 1-1, and now the Falcons go 1-1. You fall to one. You go both teams now 500. When you had the opportunity to go start the season 2-0 and drop the Falcons to 0-2, and I think the Falcons got Kansas City coming up. Jalen Hurts, he was 23 of 30, 183 yards. He had a TD, a pick, and he was sacked once. Saquon, 22 rushing attempts, 95 yards. And he also had 4 receptions for 21 yards. But if you Philly, the Eagles right now, they don't look good to me. I'm just gonna be honest with you, they don't look good to me. Up front, they're not generating enough pressure. Now I don't know. Can we equate that to the fact that the Atlanta Falcons offensive line is pretty good and pretty solid? But with the additions that the Eagles made this offseason, and I understand, like I said, it's week 2. We still got 15 games left to go. It's week 2. And I get all that. But these are the games you got to finish. These are the games you have to finish. Now, 3rd and 3, if he catches the ball and pick up the first down, we're not even having this discussion. But he didn't catch the first down. I mean, he didn't catch the ball. He didn't pick up the first down. So looking back at that play, it's 3rd and 3. Would you run the ball and keep the clock moving? Because when he dropped that pass, that stopped the clock. That helped Atlanta out by stopping the clock. That's the chance you take when you pass the ball in that situation. If you drop the pass, incomplete pass, stop the clock. And that's exactly what happened. You dropped the pass, the clock stopped, which worked out in Atlanta's favor. No more time ran off the clock. That worked out in Atlanta's favor. And as you can see, they went down the field and scored and left 34 seconds remaining. So it took a pretty much little over a minute for them to do that. So if you run the ball on 3rd and 3 instead of passing the ball on 3rd and 3, and let's say you don't pick the first down up, you come up short, at least the clock keeps going. It keeps going. And I can't remember how many timeouts Atlanta had, but it will have forced Atlanta to take a timeout, to burn one of their timeouts. And kick the field goal, whatever. If you made it, which he did make the field goal after Saquon's drop. But if you make the field goal, then it's still 21-15. But when Atlanta takes over, it probably won't be a minute and 39 seconds left, unless they take an immediate timeout. Um, but he, like I said, if he just caught the pass, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. We won't even be discussing this. Philly would have won the game. That would, I mean, if he catches that, gets the first down, Atlanta would be forced to burn a timeout. Just hopefully what he did, hopefully if he had caught the ball, what he would have done if he had caught the ball is turned up the field, got the first down, and got down immediately in bounds to keep everything, going and not get shoved or run out of bounds or go out of bounds or whatever. But needless to say, he dropped the pass. That stopped the clock anyway. They didn't pick up the first. It was 3rd and 3. They didn't pick it up because he dropped the pass. 4th and 3. They kicked the field goal. They go up 21-15. Minute 39 seconds left. When Atlanta takes over, 4 plays, they go down there on the 8-yard line. That was the best that Kirk Cousins looked all season. That's the best drive Atlanta had in all season. And that really, as I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, like, why don't more teams, no matter at what point in the game it is, if your team is struggling on offense and you had an offensive weapons to not be struggling, such as the Falcons, they shouldn't be struggling this much on offense to start the season with the weapons that they got. They should be pretty much high powered up and down the field with the offensive weapons that they have. So if you have weapons like that offensively and you're still struggling, I've never understood why coaches don't run the hurry up offense to get some type of rhythm going. I can almost guarantee you, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of defenses don't practice for no huddle offenses at odd times during the game. Yeah, a no huddle is coming once it's down to maybe coming up to halftime and you're trying to get a quick score. And yeah, that's situational. And when it's late in the game and you need to get in field goal range or you need to get a score and you out of timeouts or you down to one timeout or whatever, and yeah, that's gonna be no huddle. But why won't teams, once they see the offense struggling and they know they have the playmakers and they know they have the offense to not be struggling, but yet they still struggling? I never understood why teams don't go into a hurry up mode to get some type of rhythm going with the offense to get down the field, even if they don't do nothing but get a field goal out of it. That's a lot when it comes to building confidence with a struggling offense when you shouldn't be struggling because of the guys you got on the offensive side of the ball. I never understood that. Go to no huddle. Get the defense off balance. Get chemistry and get something going offensively. Even if you don't do nothing but get a field goal out of it. That field goal and that movement of the ball by the offense can lead to more confidence and more confidence. So when you get the ball back, you may not necessarily have to go no huddle. But if you want to keep that same pace up, if you want to keep that same intensity up and go no huddle again, and if the defense was unbalanced and showed the inability to stop the no huddle, why not continue to go to it? Especially if you're accomplishing what you're trying to accomplish, which is moving the ball and getting the offense going. I never understood that. Especially coming out of the halftime. If you had an ugly first half and your offense wasn't moving the ball in the first half and you get the second half kickoff, why don't you come out and open the second half up with a no huddle? Try something different. If it don't work, then it don't work. Hell, what you was doing before didn't work. But at least you're trying to change something up to try to get on pace for something to work. I just never understood that. I never understood that. Um, I just never understood why they don't do that. Now, as far as the Eagles, they got the Saints coming up in New Orleans, and the Saints right now rolling. Week 1, they played Carolina 47-10. I get that. It was Panthers. But what they did last week, going into Dallas, was 44-19. Just back-to-back weeks, they done put up 40-plus points. And I think I just seen a stat where they've scored points on every drive so far this season. I don't know how true it is because I didn't even watch all of that first game, and I didn't catch all of the second game. I saw most of it. But the Saints rolling right now, and the Eagles got to travel to New Orleans to play the Saints. And the way the Saints putting up points and rolling right now through defenses, and like I said, it's only week 2. They rolled through Carolina defense where Carolina didn't have no defense. Somebody was there. It wasn't the Panthers. Somebody was on TV playing, but I don't think it was them. But then they go to Dallas and run through that defense after the way Dallas looked against Cleveland to open the season up in week 1. So the Saints right now are better than we thought. I made a prediction that Dennis Allen was on the hot seat. So it looks like my prediction, like I keep saying, it's only week 2. It's still 15 games to go. Week 2. A lot can change between week 3 and week 17, 18. So I had a prediction that Dennis Allen, the head coach of the Saints, was on the hot seat. That don't look like that's going to be the case, unless he just have some type of dramatic collapse. It looks like this team offensively. Derek Carr looked like he done jumped into a time travel machine and went back 5 years, 6 years. So this team offensively is rolling. And we hadn't even mentioned Chris Olave's name a lot. Alvin Kamara looked like he gonna get a contract the way he damn playing. Defensively, they look stout. Even though they couldn't even make a lot of moves because they were strapped up against the cap. They couldn't make a lot of moves in free agency. They made the first round draft pick of the offensive lineman out of Oregon State. And then they, picked up Spencer Strider, and then they added Kool-Aid McKinstry, I think, in the second round, cornerback out of Alabama. But as far as free agency, they couldn't do a lot in free agency. I mean, they tried to bring in Justin Simmons, but obviously they didn't sign him because he's in Atlanta. And they signed Chase Young. Marcus Davenport, he left in free agency. He's over there up there in Detroit. I think they brought in Willie Gay, the linebacker. So they couldn't make a lot of moves in free agency because they had a lot of cap issues they were dealing with that they pushed down the road. And, now they're dealing with it. But that don't even really seem to be hurting this team right now. It seems like this team is hit another stride offensively. And this right. I can't even believe this shit was going on in New Orleans right now. Because I had Dennis Allen on the hot seat. But the way this team came out in these first 2 weeks, I don't think that's going to be the case. But that's where Philly got to go. Sunday, they go to New Orleans, and I don't think they're going to win that game. I understand A.J. Brown was out last night, and that had a lot to do with the offense being, compromised to some degree. But I think they still had enough playmakers to pull that game out. And we wouldn't even be having this conversation, like I said, if Saquon had caught the pass. And it was not a bad pass. The pass was a good pass. Actually, it was a great pass. The placement of the ball was exactly where it needed to be. It was just a flat-out drop by Saquon. So if he had caught that pass and converted that third down into a first down, we wouldn't have this conversation. But he didn't, so that's why we have it. But they got to go down to New Orleans Sunday, and I don't think they're going to beat the New Orleans Saints because they don't generate pressure up front, or they didn't generate enough up front last night against the Falcons. And then when it counted the back end of their defense in the secondary, it gave in. And that's going to be a huge problem going to New Orleans because the way New Orleans is airing the ball out with Derek Carr, and then they got Alvin Kamara in the screen game, and then they just going up and down the field on folks. I mean, the first 2 games they done scored 40 plus points, 44 plus points. So, that's not going to be a good sign. And I don't know if A.J. Brown is going to be available Sunday. I'm not sure. I ain't read the injury report on that. He wasn't there last night, so I don't know if he's going to be there Sunday. So if he's not able to go Sunday in New Orleans, I got the Eagles falling to 1-2. So that's something that the Eagles got to show up if they want to be contenders this season. And like I said, coming into this season, that division, every coach in that division, that NFC East division, that is, every coach I had on the hot seat except for Dan Quinn. I had Mike McCarthy on the hot seat. I had Brian DeBall on the hot seat, and then I had Nick Sirianni on the hot seat. And if the Eagles start this season off 1-2, 1-3, then the Nick Sirianni hot seat rumors may be because, like I said, Sunday they got to go to New Orleans. Then week 4, where do they go week 4? Let me see. They're at Tampa. So they got back-to-back NFC South games on the road. against New Orleans Sunday. Then the following Sunday, they go back down to Tampa. And Tampa coming off a win at Detroit this past Sunday. So that's another solid team that's looking good. And then I think they may have a bye week after that or something like that. But these next two games are going to be tough games for the Eagles. These next two games on the road at New Orleans, at Tampa, these are tough games. So they could go to one and they could fall to 1-3 to start the season because they didn't generate pass rush. And New Orleans looked like they got a pretty solid O line, and Tampa got a solid offensive line. So if you can't generate pass rush against Atlanta, and Atlanta might have a better offensive line than we think. So that's going to be two games on the road that you got two solid offensive lines that you lack in pass rush against. And you got to show up that secondary. Otherwise, it's going to get torched in these next 2 weeks. But if you Atlanta, that was a huge comeback win for y'all because you would have failed to 0-2. So if you Atlanta, you looking at you coming back home Sunday against the Chiefs, which is going to be a tough one. Even though you're back home, it's going to be a tough one. And then after that, you go the Saints come in. So you got two back-to-back home games. The Eagles two back-to-back road games, Saints, Bucks. Then the Falcons got two back-to-back home games, Chiefs, Saints. Those are going to be two tough games to the Falcons. Even though they both at home, it's still going to be two tough games. It's always a close back and forth game between Atlanta and New Orleans, no matter where they play at. It's division rivals. So Atlanta needed that win because, like you said, you coming back home for two straight, the Chiefs and the Saints. So Atlanta needed that. They couldn't afford to start the season 0-2, and could possibly start 0-4 if with these next two games coming up. So they needed that to get back to 1-1. With the additions that they made to this team, this is not what they were looking to start the season as. But it was just a complete damn meltdown in Philly, the city of brotherly love last night. I guarantee you the fans were showing no love last night in the city after that debacle, that demolition. Um, like I said, if they had won the game, we wouldn't even be talking about the secondary. But the secondary looked so bad on that last drive. The Falcons went down the field in four pass plays and got all the way from their own 30 all the way down to the for Philly's 8-yard line, and got in the end zone with about 33, 34 seconds left in the game. So you got to get AJ Brown back. That you missed a lot of offense without AJ Brown out there. So I'm not sure what his timetable to come back, his return is, but they got to get him back. Because that didn't look good last night. You can't have these type of meltdowns in games that you essentially should win or should have won. And that was a game that they just dropped the ball on. They should have won. They should be sitting at 2-0 right now, and the Falcons should be sitting at 0-2. But that ain't the case. Both teams even it up at 1-1. So, yeah, if you feel it, you gotta go back to the drawing boards and you gotta correct some things. You know, you gotta get that shit. You gotta get that straight. But these next two games, you can't have this secondary half-assing like it was last night. You can't afford to have the miscues in these upcoming games. Otherwise, you won't be contending like you thought you were gonna be contending, and it's gonna confirm what I was saying. Nick Sirianni was gonna be a hot seat. So but I don't. The play call. If he catch it, it's first down, game over. He didn't catch it. That's one of them things. Like it's bad if it's one of them things that if he don't convert, it's bad. But if he converts, it's good. Ain't nobody gonna say nothing about it if he had despite that he could have everything could have played out the exact same way except for not dropping the pass. If he completes which like I said, the pass was perfectly placed. If he catches the ball, picks up the first down, and executes the play, nobody talks about the play call. But since he dropped the pass and it resulted in a 4th and 3, and they had to settle for a field goal, and they left a minute 39 on the clock for Atlanta to go down the field, they're gonna talk about the play. But I don't think the play was bad. It was just a gamble play. It was just a play that you gambled on that if it works, it works. If it don't, it could be a disaster. And it ended up being a disaster because they ended up losing the game, even though they got some points off of that drive. But it wasn't enough for them to put the game away. But instead, they left enough time on the clock for Atlanta to drive down the field and get in the end zone. And defensively, that was a bad defensive sequence on that last play. Um, on that last drive, rather. The secondary got torched. There was absolutely no pass rush. Kirk Cousins stood tall in the pocket, flat-footed. He didn't have to move around. He could just stand in one spot, survey the field, go through his progressions, make his throws, and the throws that he made, guys were wide open. They were open, so they were able to move the ball down the field with ease, real easy. So these are some things that Philly got to show up in order to remain a contender or be a contender because they got too much talent on this team. Like I said, the pass rush was non-existent. Kirk Cousins showed up and he won a primetime game, which he's not known for. And that drive right there is the best drive the Falcons have put together so far this season. And that drive right there could carry over, or it needs to carry over into this week's game against the Kansas City Chiefs because you're going to need it against Pat Mahomes. And then, like I said, after that, you got the Saints coming into town. So this drive right here is and this is the tough stretch of the Falcons schedule. Like I said, the front end of that schedule is tough, and then it starts lightening up, midway through the season. Then it gets lighter on the back end because remember, you still got 2 against Carolina. And that's those games are kind of close midway towards the back end of the schedule. So if you Atlanta, you got to take this last drive that you put together, which was the best drive they looked all season. You got to take this drive and you got to build a confidence from this drive and carry that over into this upcoming game. You hosting the Chiefs, and then you got to take whatever you do positive in that Chiefs game and carry that over until the week after that when you host the Saints. Because these are 2 tough upcoming games. Even though they're at home in Atlanta, those still going to be 2 tough games for the Falcons. But that's my time, man. Let me get out of here. Make sure y'all head over to YouTube. Like I said, subscribe to the content. Hit the notification bell so you can get notified when new content gets released. Follow me on social media platforms that's scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Ralph Sneaks, that's my personal. If you want to, follow me over there on IG. Same thing with Damn_You2_Sportstalk on IG. You can click the link in the bio and subscribe to the content that way. And you can follow me over there at X at Damn You Too Sportstalk. I follow back. Until the next episode, man, y'all be safe.